Hi, I'm Kristin Omdahl. I'm a creative entrepreneur embracing every aspect of life with artistic intention. Join me as I share the way I live and all the tips and tricks along the way. Allow me to inspire you to do the same. Please like, share, or comment on my videos. I'd love to hear from you. And if you subscribe to my channel, you'll be first to know when there's something new. Today I'm going to show you how to do double crochet. We're going to start by working with worsted weight yarn, and then I'll show you how to do it on sport weight and also on fingering weight yarn. So let's get started. We're going to do a swatch of 10 stitches, and what that means for double crochet is that we're going to chain 12. So we'll tie our yarn onto our hook, and we're going to chain 12 times. Now, if you were going to read this in line-by-line instructions, it would say double crochet in the 4th chain from your hook with the first chain 3 counting as a double crochet. What that means is that we're going to skip the first 3 chains and double crochet in the 4th chain from our hook. Now, the loop on your hook does not count as a chain. It's just your working loop. So we're going to count back 1, 2, 3, skipping the 3, and then double crochet into the 4th chain from your hook. A double crochet is as follows: yarn over your hook, insert your hook into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. We now have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We'll do that again. Yarn over, insert your hook in the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to do that across the entire row, working 1 double crochet into each chain across. Okay, now we're going to start our next row, but let's count to make sure we have the right number of stitches. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that chain 3 that we skipped at the beginning counts as our first double crochet. Let's mark the chain, the 3rd chain, the one at the top, so that we remember where to work our last stitch on the next row. And we're going to chain 3 to start row 2. Whoops, chain 1, 2, 3. Now if you're reading that in the line-by-line instructions, it'll say that chain 3 counts as your first stitch, which means we're not going to work into this stitch. So chain 3, turn our work, the chain 3 counts as our first stitch, so we're going to skip that one and we're going to double crochet into the next stitch. Yarn over your hook, insert your hook into the space below the 2 horizontal bars of the stitch in the row below, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We'll do that again. See where we're going to work. I'm going to set the work down so you can see where I'm talking about. There's 2 horizontal bars at the top of the stitch on the previous row. We're going to work our stitch just below that. So yarn over, insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And you want to repeat that across the entire row until we get to the last stitch, which, if you remember correctly, is a chain 3. So I'm going to show you how we complete that stitch. Okay, so now we've got our chain 3 that counts as our first double crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We need to work our 10th stitch, and we're going to work it into the place where we have our stitch marker, which is the top of the chain 3 from the previous row. Until you can recognize your stitches and recognize where the top of the chain 3 is and where the last stitch of the row is, it's really important to mark your stitches just as you're learning. And sometimes if the yarn is tricky, if it's a bumpy yarn or a thin yarn, sometimes marking them at that point is really handy as well. So we're going to mark the chain 3 at the beginning of this round as well, so that when we turn our work and work back, we'll remember where it is. So we'll take this one out now. Don't need that anymore. We're going to chain 3, turn our work. That chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, so we're going to skip the first stitch. We're going to double crochet in the next stitch. Yarn over, insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, and then we'll work our last stitch into the chain 3 that we marked with our stitch marker. And that's double crochet in worsted weight yarn. Now I'll show you what this looks like when you go to a thinner yarn. We'll start with sport weight. When you're doing lace, a lot of times you'll use thinner yarns but stick with the larger hook. So I'm going to show you how to recognize your stitches when they get loose looking from doing lace work. Even double crochet will look lacier once you go down to a thinner yarn. Okay, so we're going to start with our same chain 12. And we're going to double crochet into the 4th chain from our hook, and in each chain across. Okay, I'm going to mark that first stitch or the top of the chain 3 so that we remember where to put our last stitch at the end of the next row. Okay, and now we'll chain 3, counts as our first double crochet, turn our work, skip the first stitch and double crochet into the next. And we'll double crochet in each stitch across to the last stitch, which is, if you remember, the chain 3 from the beginning of the last row, and we'll work into the top of the chain 3. And until you're used to where that is, it's a really great idea to mark the top of the chain 3 with a stitch marker. So we're going to work into the same spot that our stitch marker is reminding us about. And you'll just repeat that as you go along for double crochet. That's what it looks like in sport weight yarn. And now I'll do the same thing in fingering weight yarn, so you can see how much looser the yarn looks on your hook, and just to see that even if, once you learn the stitches, there is a learning curve to going with thinner yarn. The ability to recognize your stitches is important, and really just comes with time and experience and practice. So we've got our chain 12. We're going to double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we'll double crochet in each chain across. The chain 3 that we skipped counts as our first double crochet, and we worked 1 double crochet in each of the remaining 9 chains for a total of 10 double crochets. Okay, before we continue, I'm going to mark my first stitch or the top of the chain 3 so that I recognize it when we're coming back at the next row. Okay, so now I'm going to pick my work back up and chain 3, which counts as the first stitch at the beginning of the row. Chain 3 counts as double crochet, turn our work, skip the first stitch, and double crochet in the next stitch. And work 1 double crochet in each stitch across. And our last stitch is worked into the top of the chain 3 from the previous row, which is marked with a stitch marker so that we can work it in the proper location. Okay, and there's double crochet in fingering weight yarn. Now I'll put these side by side so you can really see how different they look. There we are. There's rows of 10 double crochets in fingering, sport, and worsted weight yarn.